Today's workshop is organised jointly by the London School of Economics and the International Monetary Fund in order to bring together leading thinkers and experts to consider the role of social protection in a changing world. It builds on the LSE Beverage 2.0 Festival, which was celebrating 75 years since the blueprint for the British welfare state was produced, and thinking about how welfare states across the world have adapted and need to adapt further to the challenges that we face today. It also arises out of the IMF's recent interest in inequality, concerns about the changing nature of work, and bringing together thinking about their future strategic direction on social protection in the countries in which they work. The IMF's approach in the past has come in for criticism from civil society, from some of the UN agencies, and indeed from their own independent evaluation office. So the fact that the IMF are at this point taking a strategic look at the role of their work on social protection is very welcome. We're discussing three broad themes in the workshop today. The first is looking at the emerging challenges for social protection. So that's thinking about the way that the world is changing in terms of the labour market, technological change, demographic change, climate change. All of these have an impact on the needs that social protection has to meet and also the means available to us in order to address those needs. The second theme that we're looking at is really around the design of social protection, the balance between social insurance and social assistance, or newer forms such as asset transfers, and also tackling head-on this complex question of the balance between universalism and targeting, the different roles that universal and targeted programmes can play. Then finally, the third theme, last but not least, is on the financing of social protection. So we can think a great deal about the output side, the social protection system itself, the cash transfers and so forth, but we also need to think about the input side. Where does the revenue come from? How is it raised? And only by looking at the inputs and the outputs together do we get an overview of the extent to which the system as a whole is going to meet its objectives for example, reducing inequality and avoiding poverty. So there are two main aims for today's workshop. The first is to identify some of the research gaps, areas where we need to understand more about the role of social protection, the design of social protection, its interaction with other areas of social spending, and so on, across different parts of the world. The second aim of today's workshop is to really enrich the dialogue between academics and policymakers and practitioners, particularly those in the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank and similar organisations. Too often, the academic world works on simplified assumptions about the ways in which these international organisations work and the scope that they have for taking action. Similarly, it can be difficult for the IMF, the World Bank and others to access the latest academic research in a form that is accessible, translatable into useful policy directions. So by bringing people together to have a full day of discussion, we hope that we will enrich that dialogue and lead to a greater exchange between those two communities in the future.